Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome out to tonight's training webinar for all the members of Tax Sale Support. We just want to thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight we're going to be talking about comps a little bit and kind of the role they play. But before we get into comps, let's just first talk about the next 3-day event that we have coming up here, April 9th to 11th in Florida, in Orlando.
Yeah. We haven't been able to do a 3-day for over a year, so we're excited to be able to get out there and meet and talk and teach many of our members. And so if you'd like to attend, let us know. Get in contact with us. As a member, it's only $9.95, and we'll allow you to bring a guest as well. And so if you can make it, if you're going to be in the area, if you'd like to come down there and take a few days off and spend it with us, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so first, let's start digging into comps a little bit here, because some of you, I'm sure most of you probably know what they are, or maybe you don't. Let's talk about them here for a minute, because really what we're talking about here is part of the research process. It's part of the research process that we're going through to identify a lot of things. It's what helps us determine the property value. It's what helps us see whether it's a good deal or not, whether it's something that we're going to be interested in buying. We really don't know any of that until we see the comps.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's probably something that we don't talk about enough.
Yeah.
Because we spend so much time talking about how to research, county, different types of city liens that may be on the property, or how to, find the county records, the maps. But really, if you don't know exactly what the property is worth, or perform good comparables before bidding, you could easily end up overpaying just because you haven't done the proper comps to say, hey, this property isn't really worth that, it's worth this.
Yeah. In fact, it's what really tells us what the actual value of property is. At the end of the day, comps are really what are going to determine the value. And if we don't know how to find our comps properly, or if we if we don't calculate comps properly, let's say let's say that we are, we pick all the nicest properties on comps, it's really easy to get in a situation where you think you have something that's worth a lot more than it really is.
Yeah, well, Shade brings a good point. In fact, I learned that as a real estate agent, because in going and preparing presentations to list people's homes for sale, I would have to do comparable analysis. And if I wanted to, I could justify or find the right comparables to help justify their price, or to make a higher price. But that higher price most likely wasn't going to actually be help them actually sell their property. And so I would try to find the very, the properties that are the cheapest. That way, if they're really interested in selling their property, it's going to sell in a short amount of time.
Yeah. In other words, the comps that you presented to them basically were your argument for the
lower lister premium.
Yeah.
I was always trying to get them to list it for lower, not lower than they could do, but so many property owners, at least my experience, especially back then, overvalued their property. They maybe their property, there was homes just right there in that market that sold for 200, but they think their home was worth 250, but it's exactly like the homes that sold for 200.
Yeah.
So I could maybe say, but well, this home over here sold for 250, last year. Well, the reason it sold for 250 was because they had a whole extra garage and they had a finished base. There's all these different aspects. So if I wanted to, I could say, oh, well, this home sold for 250, that home sold, but those aren't real comparative comps.
Yeah.
You could manipulate the numbers any way you wanted to.
Yeah. Basically, what we're talking about are different ways that real estate can be valued. The comparable market formula is what's going to be used for most of the real estate that you're going to be looking at potentially purchasing. It's what the system that's probably easiest to use.
Yeah. The other ones are going to be used more in construction, and then also in rent calculation. If you're doing rental type properties.
Yeah, but it's basically typically how most people determine home values, certainly how agents determine listing prices.
Yeah, it was one of the first things I had to learn as a real estate agent, and it ended up, working out good when we started doing tax sale investing, was to determine, the comparative market analysis, or the comparative market analysis, and by doing that, we're going to use the comparative market formula.
Yeah. So the concept behind this is pretty simple. We need to find examples that are similar to our property in attributes and in location. So we need to find properties that are that share similar attributes. If that's a home, then it needs to be a similar size and setup. It needs to be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath if we're comparing it to other 3-bedroom, 2-baths. If it's a piece of land, then we want to compare it to a similarly sized piece of land zoned the same way.
Yeah, within the same area. Here within this example, we have 3 similar homes, about the same size of square feet, very similar. And so here we can see that they sold between 105,000 and 107,000, which means that if we're comparing the property that we're looking at, it's probably going to sell for around $55 to $62 a square foot.
Right. And so a pretty good way to estimate or know what the value of the property is pretty well. How we find the properties, the process is fairly simple. We're going to locate these properties that have either already sold or are currently listed for sale, and we kind of use them as a gauge to value our properties. But there are different ways we can go about trying to find those properties. And fortunately today, 30 years ago, if you wanted to have comps done, you had to have a real estate agent.
Yeah.
That was part of what they had.
You had to have access to the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
But now, with things like Zillow, Realtor.com being online, we can find comparable properties for sale, properties that have sold. And not only that, we also have government tools available as well.
Exactly. There are really 2 different approaches that you can take to finding comps, and Steve really listed both of them there. The 2 main options we're going to have are either using a publicly available valuation website or service, something like Redfin or Zillow or Realtor.com, and the other option is using a local government sales tool. Essentially, is what they have. They've got comp tools built into a lot of their systems that we can use to find comps. And so let's talk about how each one of those work.
Yeah, and really, you can use a combination of both of them if both of them are available.
Yeah. So first, valuation websites like Zillow is probably the most familiar one that a lot of people are used to. It's very easy to use. If we pull up a property on Zillow, if we can locate it on Zillow, the price that they're estimating to us is based on comps that they are pulling up. So they have an algorithm in there to estimate home values, and it's using comps to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we're pulling up that property address, it's going to use properties that have sold within the area to help determine what that assessment is or what their estimate is. But the one thing about Zillow or these resources is they're pulling the records from the county, but they also have all of these different agents now that are listing on Zillow in addition to listing on Realtor.com, because so many people are going to Zillow. So a lot of your realtors are going to list on their properties on there as well, which gives us access to possibly photos or other information about not only our comparables, but possibly the property that we're looking at as well. Because if the property had sold in the past, it's possible that they may have some of those photos or information available on Zillow.
Yeah. In fact, that's actually a good point. This property that we're looking at right here was one that was on the tax sale list, and I pulled it up on Redfin, and it had photos.
Yeah.
It had photos on it, which is always handy. It's always, nice to check the sites because, a lot of times the properties have been listed, and if it's been listed and sold in the last 10 or 15 years, there could very well be photos. What's nice here though is, Redfin tells us information a little bit differently. We can see, what the last sold price is, last time the property sold, what they're estimating the value at. But they also have they also have additional similar homes that we can look at, that are down there below. They also have recently sold homes, that we can identify or that we can use. Really easy systems, to see other properties that are for sale. But ultimately, though, the county is the source for all of it.
Yeah. Well, and we can find pretty good comparables that we can use by using these online resources. The one thing about the county resources, if the county resources available, that's awesome. But there's a lot of counties, smaller counties, places like that may not have that in a tool as easy as this tool.
Yeah. In fact,
so we've got to rely on, on what we can find through Redfin and through Zillow, through Realtor.com.
Yeah. Now, finding these systems on county websites, if they're available, then there's a couple of ways we can go about finding them. Ultimately, the county is the one that are going to have the record of all property sales and ownership transfers, and many of them kind of built these comp systems in. They become visible sometimes as soon as you look at a property record. And a lot of times there are direct links to these tools on the property record as we're looking at it. If not, then they're almost always going to be listed, the same place the record search tools are listed.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes they'll be underneath the assessor records where they're kind of determining that assessed value. Sometimes they'll have the links there that will take you back to the sales records as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they'll use those sales records as way to justify their assessed values.
Yeah. So, for example, here, this is Citrus County we're looking at, and the arrow's pointing there to neighborhood sales. If you click on that, then it pulls up all of the sales, that have occurred in that neighborhood, and you can basically set criteria if you want, to weed out properties. You can also, if you click on any of these lines, it pulls up the full results there. So basically, there's like 141 other properties that have sold in the last 18 months. So, this isn't really applying a criteria to all of those. It's just everything that's sold.
Yeah. Well, if we were looking at land in particular, some of them give you the ability to just look at land sales, versus home sales, and pull up a list of just the land properties versus the homes, or the homes versus the land.
Yeah, each county has a tool kind of like this. In some counties, they call them sales. It'll be listed under sales search or sales record.
I think comparable property.
Comparable properties can be listed too as well. And in this case here with Hillsborough County, what we're looking at here is the top portion of a county property record, and it's one of the tabs under that. Underneath your basic search and your advanced search, you have sales search, and if you click on the sales search, then it pulls up a search tool that allows you to set the criteria really to anything that you want there within that area to get really good, accurate comps on what is actually sold.
Yeah, well, and if we were looking for a structured property, we could put the size of the property, the bedrooms, baths, kind of that information, and help narrow that down to properties that really fit our investment.
Yeah. In fact, we'll go and play around this a little bit in just a minute. And now, which counties it's going to be available in? We can look for it with each county. It really depends on how good counties are with their records. So some states and counties are not going to have it set up, but a lot of them do. In fact, a lot more than they did 10 years ago.
Well, and if the county has, a pretty good record search tools available through their assessor records, then a lot of times they'll have links to that additional information. If the county records are sparse, you're pulling up almost a paper record. When you look up the parcel numbers, it's just kind of some basic information, not a lot of links. They may not have that available. It is public record information though. So you may be able to contact the county and they can send you a PDF of the properties that have sold or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's really just a matter of whether they've got it available and easy to pull up. You know, Scambia, we can see as soon as we click on the county record, you know, it's the option is they're listed as sales list. You know, in this case, and it pulls up again. You know, it allows you to set your search criteria.
And there you can see the improved versus vacant.
Yeah, improved versus vacant. You can also select qualified, unqualified. And essentially, I think what we're talking about there is whether we're looking at wholesale transactions or whether they are, you know, transactions with a warranty.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of an important factor when you're trying to determine sales price. Broward County, you know, is similar. We can see that with their records there, it's listed under, first searches, it's listed under their sales. But if we go under that, the tool though looks the same. So we can select the range of the date, we can select, you know, and also the other property attributes, and look for comps this way as well. Yeah, and yeah, there are plenty of counties outside of Florida that have it. You know, I should have pulled up more of them here, but yeah, like Steve was saying earlier, I don't think we focus enough time on comps. You know, at least realizing that we kind of blow over it fairly quickly, and it plays a pretty important role in what we're doing. You know, the comps are really how we eliminate a lot of risks too. You know, a lot of times we don't identify risks and then we start trying to pull up comps and determine the value of the property, because not all risks are just associated with liens that could be attached to the property. Some risks are related to the value of the property itself.
Yeah, well, you know, when it comes to the comps, by doing a comparable or not having the price right, you know, that can affect our profitability. You know, if we're looking at a property and, you know, we do some comparables or we think that it's worth 80 and it's actually really worth, you know, 50, that can make a big difference. You know, $20,000 or $30,000 worth of value in a property could make a huge amount of difference if we're looking at comparables. And our comparable is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, but this is a house that's beat up and, you know, and 50 years old, and we're finding a comparable of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that is 20 years old and in great shape.
Yeah, in fact, you know, let's look at some examples here of kind of how this works and how we can even use, even whether it's a qualified seller or not qualified. Let's say that we're looking to wholesale some land. That could be a handy tool for seeing or determining, you know, what a property value is set at. You know, so
well, and even if the county doesn't have those online records available to do it, you know, we still have all of the online research tools like Realtor, like Redfin, like Zillow that can help us find good comparables.
yeah, there definitely are a lot of tools now. All right, so let's pull up a property record here. Okay, so you know, here we're looking at Hillsborough County, and you know, this is a homestead property. We can see, you know, it has that homestead exemption here. You know, so we can click on it here to pull up the parcel results that we're looking at. Now, we can also, though, as I was saying, if we're looking for you know, similar nearby properties, you know, so this property here that we're looking at, let's look into the details on it. You can see it's a single family home here. It was built in 2012. It is a, let's see how big is it.
Let's see, it sold in 2012.
Oh yeah,
228.
Yeah, it's over 228. And I'm just trying to see how I can tell how many bedroom bath it is. We usually get that listed somewhere here. Bedrooms.
4 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Yeah, so it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, and it's about 1900,
1,800 square feet.
Oh yeah.
Heated, but total 2,500.
Yeah, so So now, if we were looking at some of these details under sales search, then we could pull up some of these results using this. So let's see here. Square footage. So let's see. If we wanted to look at other ones that were, well, let's say we're just looking at 4-bedroom to 3-bedroom maybe, and 2-bath.
Not 3 to 2.
3 to 2. And
Year built. That'd be an important one because this one's so new.
yeah, that's true.
You know, like a 2000 to a 2020 or something. You know.
Yeah, because this one was built in 2012.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll say for 2000 to 2018. Oh, that's 2018. And
You would also do sales date too. It's probably be the last one you'd put in there.
yeah, and the date.
You did last year. You know, you could go out further depending on how many records you pull up. But usually, if we can get them within the last year, that's going to be best.
So we could say how do I allow it to do that? It's 22, 21. And all right, let's try to search with that.
Total of 1.
Total of 1. Where is it at then?
Yeah, so I want to cell search. Search results maybe. There we go.
There we go. Let's see here.
Probably did too detailed.
Maybe too detailed. We're gonna simplify. Yeah.
You know, one thing we can also do while we're doing this is pull up and look at some of the comparables on, you know, Zillow as well.
Oh yeah, in fact, what's gonna be the faster way here? Let's pull it up like this.
Sometimes they'll have links on that you just click on and it automatically just pulls up the properties, you know, that are available within the area.
Yeah. All right, so now we've got that complete address. Now we can pull out some tools like so for example, if we're looking at this property, they're going to have a lot of the details there, but we've got similar homes listed right here.
Yeah, in fact, you know, Zillow has the same thing with recent homes listed below it as well.
Yeah, in fact, let's like clear down here too. If we want though, we can also click on it that way. Then we can see some nearby homes, and then we've got the nearby ones that have sold recently, kind of like Zillow's.
Yeah.
Zillow's almost identical. Let's pull it up and see what there is. Oh, interesting. They kind of have these things priced out like condos are, in a way. You know, you pick individual ones, I think.
Never had the same property listed twice, maybe.
Yeah, they're estimating it there at 261.
Kind of scroll down a little further.
There's some recently sold homes there, comparables.
I think they're using the exact same ones. Let's look and see. So you can see the, you know, the comparables they've got.
Yeah,
We've got, that one's kind of easy to spot
yeah,
right there. 295, that one sold on January 4th. 301, this must have sold at last sold price at 295.
yeah.
Those are out, those are all recently sold.
You know, also one thing as well you can do is, like on Zillow, is kind of go back and use some of the tools and just look at any of the properties that sold within a specific zip code or within a specific city as well. So, you know, one thing we'd like to do is we'd like to get an idea of the very cheapest properties that are available as well within the area.
Yeah,
So sometimes we'll expand it out and, you know, and put either for sale or properties that have sold and get an idea of what is the cheapest competition. So what are the properties that are currently for sale? Get an idea, and then from there also which properties have sold.
well, that's actually one thing that, yeah, we always, because we're dealing with tax deed properties, we're always going, you know, and trying to use price to our advantage. You know, if we're comparing properties, you know, we're always better off going with some of the cheapest stuff that's available and trying to compete with that rather than increasing our price here dramatically.
Yeah, so if we're looking at this particular property, we may take that zip code or the town and start viewing, you know, properties that have sold. And we can also kind of search. They have, you know, Zillow has all the different search tools, so you can search by properties of a specific size if there's a ton of properties that come up. So in some areas, if it's a more rural area, you may only have a number of properties that come up that have sold recently. But if we're in an area that has a ton of properties, we can narrow that down to a smaller location. But we can also narrow that down by type, bedroom, square foot, any of those other tools as well.
Yeah, yeah, I like the way that we can, well, we gotta just pull up a few properties here and look for some comps on them.
Yeah,
Like we can with land. Like this is probably land right here. Let's see what this is. Yeah, that looks like a chunk of land here.
GSI map, that view map there below. A little small one.
Let's see if we can pull up. There we go. Now we can see it a little bit better. 0.34 acre. That is what they're saying there, and it's developed as, I mean, it's listed as vacant commercial. So, being vacant commercial,
It has to be a little bit more difficult with commercial.
yeah, is it rented we look at? No,
No, if we sit right there in the LoopNet.
that's right.
But, you know, we can also look, because sometimes they'll have like commercial land listed for sale through Zillow and Redfin as well.
Ooh.
Oh, you know, look, Ballard. Seeing, I was just seeing if they had a link there to take you to the comparable sales.
Yeah, so this is in Ruskin, or maybe we easiest to compare. Yes.
Oh, wait, that's the mailing address. Probably have it on the. Oh, I guess.
Is this the one I was looking at?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, no, it's
It's
this
that one
one
at
down
the
there.
bottom.
Oh, yeah, it's in Ruskin though, so let's just
Yeah.
look in Ruskin, Florida. And let's try this. Let's go commercial.
I just do that.
That's such a small place. Let's see. It pulls up here for us. We've got a few pieces here. I can see some bigger pieces. 9.6 acres, 8 acres, 3 acres, 2 acres. So we can find anything smaller.
Yeah, well, and sometimes this is gonna be higher end commercial. So we might also look on just Zillow and see what type of land property is for sale.
Yeah.
Because this isn't a huge piece of commercial property.
No, it's kind of a smaller piece of commercial property. I think if I was struggling to value commercial property, then I'd probably call a realtor. Somebody that deals with it and that knows commercial there in the area a little bit better. Let's see here. I think in general, though, the county's sites are going to be the way to get probably the largest number of comps and the most accurate comps.
Yeah, well, and also one thing, pull up their website real quick.
Which one?
Just our tax sale support, because we have a tool available as well to help you as you're doing your comps. Let's see, I think it's looking underneath the members of the training. Let's see. Looking for the links page.
Oh, for
Trains, forms and links. So there's the Excel. On the far right hand corner is the sale tax deed evaluator. And that's a great tool, free tool that you can use as you start finding the different comps. You can actually put the information of each one of those comps into the calculator, and it'll help you determine exactly how much you're going to be paying for the property as a percentage. It'll calculate all of the different comparables for you.
$1 per square foot on them. And,
yeah, it's a pretty handy little tool.
let's see here. For instance, if we're looking at buying land in an area, one of the first things that we'll go and do in that area is we'll go and look and see what land is currently, for sale. So if we're looking here in Riverview, Florida, for land, we would look like this. And then from here, we would also sort it probably from price from low to high. And, we use that to figure out what the cheapest property available in the area is that's similar.
Yeah, well, you see right now, there's not really a ton of cheap property for sale within the area. We could also, right now we're currently looking at the for sale property. We could also go and look at the sold property as well to see what different properties have sold. So there's, 0.34 acres sold for $17,500. There's a little bit smaller lot that sold for $24,000.
Yeah.
$25,000.
Yeah, which what's nice is when we're looking at the stuff that's for sale, mostly what we're looking at are agent listings, but when we're looking under the sold, we're looking at more just the results, and so I think we've got larger numbers of properties to kind of go off of. See how far back it's gone here for sold. So it's basically all stuff that's sold. Well, some of these are a little bit older.
Yeah, as you scroll down, I'll have other ones probably.
Yeah.
Usually goes back a couple years.
Yeah, but most of them are 2019 and 20.
But if we were looking at land for sale, like a building lot, we could hone in and see, say it was an acre building lot, we could find a lot of different comparables here so we could use, and also, closer to the location as well.
Yeah. In fact, we could find a lot of these here. If it was a 1 acre lot, we could find a lot of comps, to justify, a price on it, because we do have a lot of examples here. There's plenty of land. We might grab 5 examples there that were closest to the property. You kind of figure out an average based on them.
We can also do the same thing with homes as well, or trailers. I mean, we can go up to where it says land lot, and we could click on, if we were looking at, a home or a condo or something like that, even a multi-family, we can click on those different aspects and then go up underneath the bedrooms and baths and narrow it down if we want to anymore. and hone in on any properties that have sold or sold within the area as well.
Yeah.
You know, so if we were looking at, you know, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo, we could look and see, you know, what are the 2 bedrooms, 1-bath condos that have sold or currently for sale within the area, and get at least a good idea.
Yeah, they are pretty good with helping us save time. I agree with that. But anyhow, you know, the main point is just making sure that you're using comps, you know, in order to set your values, and that you know, that you're doing that also. You want to make sure you're setting values based on whether or not those were sold using it, whether they're qualified sales or not, whether it was with a warranty deed or whether it was a wholesale transaction can make a difference. And also knowing how you plan to sell the property.
Yeah, well, and as you start, you know, looking at properties and finding comparables, pull up that, you know, pull up that investment tracker, because it makes it a little bit easy. It's kind of fun. As you start finding different properties, you can post those values in there, and it'll determine all of the per square foot values, but then you can also put in different information like legal cost if you're going to go through quiet title or rehab costs or anything like that, and it'll help you calculate exactly what you should participate or what you should bid into the auction.
Yeah, this is basically what it looks like here.
Yeah, so, you know, over on the left-hand side, we would put all of our information, the opening bid price, the assessed value, the square footage, and then we put a Zillow value. And then down there in the middle is where we could put any of the comparable properties as well. So, you know, here it's got some filled out right now, you know, but we would go ahead and replace that with whatever we had.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up everything we've got here to cover for today. Yeah, the main point is just that comps are really the most important tool for setting the actual real world value of your property and knowing what, you know, what it can actually sell for.
And that's gonna really help us to determine our bid amount.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, yeah, that's going to be the best way to estimate how much we want to pay for the property. So, anyhow, thanks everybody for joining us this evening. We will be back here next week. Be sure to let us know if there's anything we can do to help.
Yeah, thanks again.